All right, so we should be on page 2 of our packet. I had asked you guys to finish up 20 through 24. We talked about 19 at the end of class yesterday. Some of us were kind of stuck on, well, there's addition there, but why am I still adding to solve it? So we did talk about 19 yesterday. I just want to go through these 5 that I asked you to finish up. Make sure we don't have any questions on those. And then we are going to keep doing our one-step equations for today because I think we still need a little more practice with it. But we're going to start throwing in some decimals and some fractions, which is not anything to worry about because we can use our technology. We've got our calculator there to help us out, okay? So let's go through these 5 just real quick. In number 20, that bar means we're dividing. So to undo division, we multiply. And we need to multiply. I don't know why my pen is being weird. We need to multiply by the number we're dividing by. We're trying to get p by itself. Some of us yesterday knew to multiply, but we were multiplying by something else. Okay? So we multiply. We have p equals this 9 and this 9, they simplify because 9 divided by 9 is 1. So if I have to my calculator, negative 9 times 9, if I need to, negative 81. Be careful on your negatives. It does make a difference if it's positive or negative. Then when I go to do my check, I put negative 81 in place of p, divide by 9, and I check to make sure I get negative 9. And I do. Negative 81 divided by 9 is negative 9. There we go. I don't know why it's so blinky today. Sorry, guys. So double check yours with mine. Okay, just because you did the 5 problems doesn't mean I get to sit back now and just kind of hang out while Mrs. Golly goes through them or while other people put them on the board. Make sure you're checking yours. If something's not right, use that eraser. Or if you wrote in pen, write it next to it. Make the fix. Okay? All right, number 21. We've talked about this a lot the last few classes. When the negative 16 is right next to the a, that means we're multiplying. I saw a few people yesterday that in number 21, we tried to add the 16. It means negative 16 times a. So to undo multiplying, we need to divide. And we're going to divide by what's next to that variable next to that a. Negative divided by a negative gives me a positive. Now I go to check. And I get negative 48 does equal negative 48. I know for some, like, Miss Golly, it seems like a lot of work when it's just a one-step thing. Why do you want us to show our work? Because when I check through your work, if you have the wrong answer, I want to know your thought process. So if you didn't have, let's say a question like number 21 was on our quiz, and you didn't have 3 for A, all you have written down is A equals 7. I don't know how you got A equals 7. So show me your steps. And then if you go through and show the check, if something's not right, you're going to catch it. You're going to catch it before you turn it in. All right, number 22. Most of us like questions like 22. Those seem to be the easier ones for us when we're adding or subtracting. We have a k minus 9. So to undo subtraction, we need to add. Now the number we need to add, here's where some confusion is coming in that I saw yesterday. Some of us are trying to add the 38 over to the other side. We picked out the right operation, but we're moving the wrong number. The idea is we need to get the variable by itself. So we want to clear out anything that's on the same side as the variable. So if we add that 9, minus 9 plus 9 is 0. K equals, what do we got there? Negative minus 9. 29. There we go. So I check it, and I do, oops, I replace the k, there we go. Negative 29 minus 9. There we go, it should blink back in. I don't know why it's blinking on me. So negative 29 minus 9, I put that in my calculator, and it tells me, yep, guess what? You got it right, because that equals negative 38. And it checks. Number 23 looks a lot like question 20 that we did. That fraction bar means division. So to undo the division, we're going to multiply. And remember, we need to multiply. And I'm sorry there's not more room there by that negative 20. I need to think about the spacing a little better for you guys. We need to multiply by what's on the same side as our v. I'm trying to get v by itself. So it doesn't do me any good to try to move the 20. I need to move the negative 4. So we end up with positive 80 equals v. And then I check. Negative 20 equals negative 20. And it checks. Number 24 yesterday. Like I said, a lot of you had these finished before we even left yesterday. Some of you even had some time to spare. Number 20, though, I got a lot of questions on it. And that's great. Ask the question. I had a lot of you that said, wait, Miss Colley, but I can't divide by 0. That's okay, because we're not going to divide by 0. Remember, we want to get the n by itself. So I need to move the number that's by the n. So I need to divide. So I need to divide by the 6. I can divide by 6. That's okay. Even check it out. Put in your calculator. 0 divided by 6. It's 0. So 6 times 0. Does that equal 0? Yes, it does. Yes, it does. So you should have been able to, if you completed this for class today, if you completed this for class today or you finished it yesterday, you should have known whether all your answers were right or not before I even started going through these today. Okay, the reason why I wanted to go through them was so if we did have any wrong, that we were able to make those corrections and see why we couldn't get the right answer. But we should have known coming in if our answers are right or wrong. Okay, if checking is something you're still not super sure on, ask today. We're going to get lots more practice today. We're going to get lots more practice today. So take a minute if you need to. Take a minute if you need to. Finish making any corrections that you need. I know a couple of us are still kind of writing some things down. And if you're not sure, if you're copying something down, if you had one wrong, and you're copying something down, and you're not sure how I got that answer, ask me. Ask me, and we will check that out. Okay? Now, like I said, we're going to get some more practice with this today. We are. The steps aren't going to change, so don't be like, oh my gosh, Miss Colley, I'm just finally starting to wrap my head around this, and now we're going to do something new. That's not what's going to happen. We're going to get some more practice with the same stuff. So if you go to the next page in your packet, we're going to get more practice with the same stuff. But now we're going to look at some equations with decimals today. And we will look at some equations with fractions today as well. But here's the nice thing. We've got our calculators to help us out. And the steps aren't going to change. So my inverse operations are still the same. If I need to undo addition, we're going to subtract. If we need to undo multiplication, we're going to divide. They're not going to change. Okay? So we should be on the next page of our packet. It should say rational equation. Some of us haven't turned the page quite yet. And all I want to do, I'm going to be honest, guys, I'm going to show you the first one. I'm going to show you the first one just to show you it's not any different. Then I want to give us some time to practice the decimal ones. And then we will look at some fraction ones today. So let's get through our decimal ones. And then we can take our break. And we'll come back and check out the fractions. These shouldn't take us a ton of time to do because the steps haven't changed. So I just want to show you a number one.
If you're working ahead, like Miss Gallia has said how many times, you need to be showing your work. You do not want to see just an answer.
Yep, so we're still going to show our work for these. And so for number one, we have a minus 17.9 equals 32.4. My process doesn't change just because, oh, now there's decimals in there. So to undo subtraction, remember, I want to move to get the a by itself. Whoops. So I'm going to add 17.9 to both sides. So the step hasn't changed. Excuse me. The step hasn't changed. My pen is not writing. And we end up with 50.3. I put that back in and I check. I realize for some of us now we're thinking, oh, I really don't want to show my work now because now those numbers are bigger because they're decimals. We still want to show our work. Okay, I don't know your thought process unless you write it down for me. Okay, so if I walk around and I see that number one has the wrong answer, I don't know how you got it. I don't know if maybe you decided to subtract the 34.2 or 32.4. I don't know how you got it. So our goal, there are 11 problems left on the front side of this sheet. Let's work our way through these 11. As we go, I'll gradually have people come up and put some answers up on the board so we can check as we go. So let's go ahead and check our 2 through 12. In number 2, we look on the side with n, and we have a positive 15.3. So to undo the positive, or the inverse, the opposite of positive 15.3 is negative 15.3. So we have to subtract 15.3 from each side. And we get that n equals negative 0.6. We can put it in and check. 15.3 plus negative 0.6. And we get 14.7 equals 14.7. We want the left side to equal the right side. That's our check. All right, in number 3, we have negative 4.5p. So negative 4.5 times p. So to undo multiplication, we divide. Negative 4.5 divided by negative 4.5 is 1. So we get that p equals 13.4. We can put that in and check. So negative 4.5 times 13.4. Does that equal negative 60.3? And yes, it does. For number 4, on the same side as k, our variable, we have negative 8.5. So the opposite or inverse of negative 8.5 will be positive. So we're going to add 8.5 to both sides. Negative 8.5, positive 8.5 gives me 0. So we have negative 27.8 plus 8.5. We get negative 19.3. We can put it in and check. we see that the left side equals the right side. In number 5, we see y being divided by 0.3. So to undo that, the inverse would be to multiply. There's not really a lot of space there on the left side. So we end up with 0.3 times 16, and we get that 4.8 equals our y. We can put that back in and check. And we get 16 equals 16. Please make sure you're checking. Also, please make sure, it's a nice reminder here, we're not even halfway through. Make sure you're showing your work. If you don't show your work and your answer is not correct, when I look through your work, I'll have no idea how you got your answer and how to help you fix it. So please make sure that you are showing your work. In number 6, we have 1.6 times m. So to undo multiplying by 1.6, we need to divide by it. Oop, not a negative. Just a positive. So negative 9.44 divided by 1.6. M equals negative 5.9. I put it in and I check. 1.6 times 5.9. I forgot my negative. There we go. And the two sides are equal. All right, we keep rolling. Not a lot different in the bottom half. Positive 2.67. The inverse of that is negative. So we need to subtract from both sides. So 7.84 minus 2.67. We get 5.17 equals W. We can go ahead and check. Remember, when we're checking, we are just substituting our answer in for the variable and making sure that our equation is balanced, so the left side equals the right. In number 8, we have c divided by negative 8.4. So to undo division, we're going to multiply. I know it's kind of hard to show on that left side because our question number is there. On the left side, we're left with c equals, and then we have 6.2 times negative 8.4, negative 52.08. Make sure your answer is negative. We can substitute negative 52.08 in for c, and we get 6.2 equals 6.2. Our equation's balanced, and that's our goal. In number 9, we have p minus 4.49. So to undo the minus, we need to add. So we have negative 8.01 plus 4.49. We get negative 3.52 equals our p. We can put that in and check. Get that the left side equals the right side. In number 10, I know it's taking some of us some getting used to, but when we have the number right next to the variable, that means we're multiplying. So to undo multiplying, we use division. That's our inverse. So we have 1.95 divided by 0.26. We end up with 7.5. We can put that in and check. 7.5 goes in for m. Notice I've used parentheses there. We do a little multiplying and we see that the left side equals the right side. In number 11, we have r divided by 25.2. So to undo the division, we multiply both sides by 25.2. Notice I'm using the dot for multiplication. I want us to get away from that x, since now all of our equations have variables, and I really don't want us to get confused between a multiplication sign and a variable. So we end up with 25.2 times negative 0.75, and we get negative 18.9 equals our r. We can check it. And we pop that in our calculator, and please make sure you're using your calculator for all this computation, otherwise these questions will take us quite a while to do. Number 12, we have negative 19.4 that we need to move away from the x, so the inverse of a negative is a positive. So we have x equals negative 32.1 plus 19.4, we have negative 12.7. We put it in and check, negative 19.4 plus negative 12.7. Do we get negative 32.1? Put that in the calculator, and yes, we do. So please make sure you have checked all of yours. If you need to rewind the video, you can. Please make sure you've checked them all and submit to me.